Jasmine here with your daily shading feedback. So let's get started. I have Ashley's bunny ears here, and they are looking great. I love the smooth. I'm glad we figured that out. And yeah, what do you think? I think one, it's definitely feeling soft now. We're getting that more of that felt feeling, the felt texture. One thing, so I'm like, you can't see me. I actually like step back from my computer a little bit to take a look at it. Yeah, I think it's working really well. And depending on your distance, like how close you're gonna see it, would be my question too, to adjust. Maybe like if you're getting this close, I almost want to see like a little bit more bump. To be honest with you, but if it's from further away, you're not gonna really notice it. So that's a thing. And the other thing while I'm here is I'm liking your the sheen of the inner ear now that you have going on here. Oops. The sheen here, it's definitely not as hot, but I believe if my memory serves me right, the color that you had for the reference was like kind of a little bit of a lighter blue. Um, which was nice kind of touch too. So one thing I will say is looking, I'm not looking at the wide shot, but maybe to lighten this color up so it's not so dark, to be closer to your reference would be great. But otherwise, I think you are, it's so much better than where you started. I hope you're happy with it. And yeah, I think you can move forward and work on any of the other elements of Mia that you might have been working on, or put her into a shot. Let's test her out. So let me know what you want to work on next. Moving forward, let's go to Dani, the magical Candyland scene. I actually thought of you the other day because my daughter was talking about her made up city, and the city, all the buildings were made of candy and all these things, and I thought in my head, I was like, she has to see your shot when you're done, because you're like making her dreamland right now. So speaking of which, I love it. I love where it's going. I think one thing to watch out for, so let's say I'm curious what the key intensity is here, because if it's at just that one, these are getting way too hot. So one thing is, when you're testing out your shading only, you want to make sure your lights, you have like kind of this default lighting. You don't have any crazy hot lights that would kind of distract how you're doing your shader. So if this key light, it shouldn't go above one. If it's above one, then let's scale it back. But if it's at one, then that's a sign here that this material, the yellow here, the here is just getting too hot. One thing I will say about the confetti trees here, I think that this is, one, it's getting too hot, but then also it's feeling a little bit sharp. I would think that that material will be a little bit more diffused, but you tell me, since it's kind of this made up land, like what is this pink material exactly here? I was picturing it being like a cupcakey type of frosting, which would not have the specularity like that. But let me know. Either way, let's bring down the specularity on here, on the house material, and on the shingles here as well. And then one thing I would look into, I know this is low res, but I'm seeing a lot of noise. And that's another thing when you're doing textures, you want to look out for possible noise when you're rendering, and that could be due to too fine of a texture will buzz, right? Or a low res, something that the texture might be too low res, and you're getting this noise. So these are things that you can start testing out now too as you're going through this. And this just might be a low resolution, because I'm blowing this up quite a bit. Like if I go to what it is, it's that size. So my point might be mute, but that's something to think about when you're testing shaders, right? Think about that's why I like doing a turntable, or in this case a scene with like a moving camera, to just test that all the materials are, not buzzing or not doing anything funny when the camera is animated, is a huge help when you're kind of creating shaders and textures. And the only other thing I'll say is, like, I know that this front of the building is pretty flat, and to help it along, I would work on adding like a little bit of a variation somehow on this to get ahead of the lighting. Maybe a subtle bump to like break that up. When it's not as hot, you won't see, you'll get more detail, but something like that is an interesting thing to think about now as you're doing the shading. The ground too, while I do like the ground, the one thing that is throwing me off is it's way more saturated than this building. So it's kind of throwing me off, and it's distracting me because it's both yellow tones. That's something to think about. I might play with different grounds color here, or play. This is where you want to play with how the colors work together, and you don't want you want them to complement each other and tell the story. For example, like, I like to make sure the saturations and whatnot are kind of on the same level, so it feels like, think about a house. When you go into a house and it's designed, everything kind of has a theme, a core element, where in this case it's the same thing with this set, right? And if I'm looking at like saturation levels, like this tree here, the confetti trees are like super saturated, but the cotton candy tree is like pretty pale. And this is kind of like along the same lines. This could go either way. It goes more with the cotton candy thing. So my thing is, if I look at this shot, everything is working really well together, except what's really bouncing out to me is that these trees are super saturated and this ground is super saturated. Like, if I were to play right now, let's see, to like do a little bit of desaturation there, and then bear with me, I'm just gonna do a quick matte, I guess, for this, to just show you the example of what I mean by, let's see, like if I were to desaturate this area here, and this is a fun way to also, instead of doing it in the render, you could always do these color, just paint overs to kind of get an idea of what it would look like, and you can mock it up like style frames. And if I want to play with the hue, I can turn that ground into even like a little bit more green. And this is like totally by your eye, but this is what I'm kind of saying is, like, you see the difference? It also feels more together. It could go even further. I feel like that pink. I can be here all day. I'm not going to do this all day. But you see what I'm getting at? It's like, it's a totally different vibe now that I kind of brought the saturations together. So that's something to think about, especially when you're designing a set and the colors and the shading work for it. But overall, I think this is a great start. I really can't wait to see the progress on this. And I am going to show my daughter. She's going to be very excited. Okay, moving forward. I can't wait to see your updates. Send me your updates. So Maverick? Let me get my notes. Yes, Maverick. Hello. Adrian. So great updates. Let's take a look. I love that you give me your updated notes. It's super helpful. Let me take this. So the scarf, you're saying, yes, you see why it's not natural, and you're going to look into it when it comes to animation. Great. And then the red parts, you added variation in it. Let's take a look. Yeah, I definitely feel it. It's more like that saturated red. And I think that's working a lot better. What do you think? And the eye, let's see. yeah, I mean, I know you didn't have much to work with, but just that simple, doing that simply, I think adds more definition. And it's supposed to be stylized. It just was like too, I think, just pure green, right, before, but now at least it has kind of like that outline outside of it. And then what else did you want me to look at specifically? The t-shirt prints. Oh, I think I'm on the boy. Sorry, I jumped to the boy. So let me concentrate on Maverick. I know we're not going to see down here, so I'm not going to really say anything. One thing I will say is, you did. I have been noticing that the t-shirt, especially in the one that you have together of them two, is looking uh like really dirty, right? Like it's just getting these grays. And when you look at white t-shirts, it's more like kind of this ambient, like it never quite gets into this dirty gray. So I would look into, I usually don't say this, but maybe like adding a really subtle ambient on the white t-shirt to, or the alternative is to light it to light it very specifically, which is probably the better way of doing it. But also think about it, like the thing that I'm calling out is it's just feeling dirty. It's not feeling like this nice white t-shirt. It's feeling kind of like this grungy t-shirt, but not even in a grungy way. It just feels very CG or something to me. So that is something I'd work on. I know you had a comment on the dirt for the shared one on the glove here, right? So what did you write? You wrote, the glove dirt looks pretty ugly. What do you suggest I do? Okay, so I'm looking at the glove dirt, and I would suggest you. My one question for it is: it only a different color map, or are you using different maps for like the specularity of it and whatnot? Because I feel like what you would need to do to make it feel more like dirt and more, stand out more, and maybe not, maybe uglier actually in a way, is to so it has different properties than the glove. Because right now it's just feeling, I think to me it's just feeling like it's a color map, and it has the same exact specular properties and bump and everything like that. But maybe if you isolate it so it stood out as a different material on him, with different spec mats, different bump, different, well, maybe not as much bump, but different specularity, different, more of a drastic color, that could help too, and making it not as ugly or more believable, I would say, because dirt's not pretty anyway. And yeah, so let's go on to Kyle. And Kyle's looking pretty good. I'm looking at your notes now that you painted the edges so it doesn't feel like a perfect rectangle. Great. I don't see that that edge that was there before. So awesome job on that. The glasses specularity. You said you're gonna. I do see a little bit right here. One thing I will suggest when it comes to glasses, and to save you a lot of pain, like trying to get it right in the lighting and in the render, and this is not necessarily a shading thing, but like just a lighting setup, is render the lenses out. Oh, I know it's an accident like that. Render the lenses, the not the lenses, sorry, the lenses. The frames you can render on, but render the lenses separately. And then you can also do like it's getting late. You can do reflection passes on the lenses that you comp in, and you can fully control how you see the reflection lenses. You can create a separate specular pass on the lenses. I mean, you can render him with the lenses on, so you get that refraction, but just make sure you don't have specular on and reflection if you do that and do it on a separate pass so you're not doubling it up. But that's the one thing I will suggest when you're rendering glasses to save you time. And then you said you're going to play with that in the lighting shot. The pants, yes, definitely better. And you make a good point that you're really not going to see the legs. So that is, that's a great example of not focusing on something that you're not going to see, right? And you added, okay, a little less blush. This looks good. The blue guy jacket. Okay, so that's it for the blue. For this guy, Kyle. Let's look at them together. So the clipping, when you mention clipping plane, do you mean it's because he's like cut off and the framing's off? Because that is odd. The framing does seem a little odd to me, but I don't know what is the background. Anyway, that's probably not a non-issue. But you did mention clipping issues, not sure if he's going to change it. If I light well, would the employers overlook it? I mean, if you're talking about, I'm not sure what you're talking about, the clipping. If you're talking about the framing, I think the framing is a little odd, to be honest with you, on the shot. The clipping, I mean, you're talking about like this hole here? I'm not quite sure. So clarify that. But let me take a look. You might remove the lines in the jacket, you're saying. I don't mind them so much. What I am noticing in the shot is that the specular seems to be a little bit tight. I think that could afford to be you still want to see a specular, but I think it would be a little bit more diffused. So I do that. Again, the note with the white in these shots, like the white here, and even the white up here too. It's just feeling really dirty, this gray, but that also can be addressed with the lighting. And the biggest thing, this is also a lighting thing, is like a bounce light right here. He's getting really dark and gray. And now you're wondering, why am I talking about lighting? Because I'm supposed to be talking shading. It's because I do lighting too. Okay, I'll focus now. And then when you say the glove, and this I'm getting a better look at the glove. And yeah, just here, I think it looks like it has the same exact specular as the glove. And I think just by giving it its own specular, where it's essentially not probably going to have the same specularity, it'll probably be more flat and diffused and more prominent maybe. Because right now it's just kind of an afterthought. I think that will help the dirt on the gloves. And again, same with the glasses. I think it's gonna be awesome when you separate it out. This is a red flag here. How hot that the head's getting, the face there, that skin texture. And if this light is the same, like if this is the same lighting setup, I take it, and if he's getting this hot, this is where it really helps to do these lighting tests for shading, the shading test I should say. If he's getting this hot with the same light and this guy is not really reacting the same way, what's going to happen is, one, you're either going to need 2 separate lighting rigs for these guys when you're lighting them, because you're going to say, oh, I want to see more key on this guy, but then when you pump up the key, this guy's going to blow out, right? So this is where you want to make sure that all the shaders align well with the default lighting rig. So now that we're seeing that this is blowing out a little bit, I would go ahead and adjust this shader accordingly. And so it's kind of on the even scale. So when you do start lighting it, you don't have to do these like unique separate lighting rigs if you can avoid it. Otherwise, a lot of these things are going to be lighting notes, just like this is what I'm talking about, the really dirtiness in the shirt. And like I said, try to hit it with like the bounce and whatnot to kind of get rid of that. And also there's no color in these lights, so you're getting these like really gray shadows, and so when you add color, then that's going to be a non-issue too. But honestly, like play it by ear. Sometimes with white, I don't mind adding just a little bit of ambient. And when I say little bit, it's like 0.02, or like it's very small, but just to kind of alleviate this dirtiness feeling that you get sometimes. And, same thing with this bandage. We might be feeling that too. Okay, and then the only other thing is I'll say that this baseball cap is looking just like a little bit too clean for me, especially the white part. And I also feel like maybe that material, tell me what that material is. Is it like the specular kind of harder plasticky top cap, or is that meant to be fabric? I'm assuming it's supposed to be more specular, kind of plasticky flip. I can't think of the name. What's the name? The bill. That's it. And if so, then it'd be nice to kind of maybe get a bit of more specular here. And the same thing, it's like I see that you're kind of putting in like the dirt and wear in here, but then I'd kind of want to see it like right here. It just feels so clean. Like I think in the seams, just darken it in the seams. Like darken it more saturated red. Similar thing that we did for here. I think will help for here to make it feel just like less perfect and less clean. Okay, that being said, awesome work. I can't wait to see this thing lit and animated. Can't wait to see what you guys have for me next time, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.